My live stream. This is Sam. One moment. How's everyone doing? Everybody staying safe out there? Hope so. So things are popping out in the world, huh? Got a ceasefire in Gaza. We got what else we got going on? UFO disclosure. Got AI coming online more and more, replacing people's jobs. Potentially, I think a lot of folks are in denial about the profound change that's coming with the AI revolution. I think a lot of folks are really in denial. There's actually a book called Fully Automated Luxury Communism by Aaron Bastani, which talks about the potential future. There's a lot of books that talk about the potential future of like post-scarcity. And, obviously if you're an American or a Westerner, communism is probably a dirty word for you. But, if AI and robotics make it to where the production of goods and services is basically nil, then we're also essentially living the level of the British aristocracy in a Jane Austen novel. We don't have to work for a living, so we spend our time caring about other things: art, poetry, relationships, adventure, exploration. Doesn't that sound like a better life? Sounds like a better life to me. I think that future is potentially possible, personally. So, yes, what do I want to talk about today? As you can see from my thumbnail, I want to talk about the Kali Yuga. And are we living in it? Are we living in the final days of the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness? Could the chaos we see today, climate change, social unrest, and rapid technological change actually be signs of a profound transformation? What if the challenges we face are paving the way into this new golden age? In this video, we'll explore the ancient Hindu concept of the Yuga Cycle, how it relates to our current world, and whether signs of progress like declining poverty and advances in AI technology could signal the end of the Kali Yuga. We'll also reflect on how our understanding of history and science may still be deeply flawed if we're living in an age of spiritual and intellectual darkness. So let's dive in. But before we continue exploring the Kali Yuga and its potential end, it's worth pausing to reflect on the ancientness of Hinduism itself, which is where the concept of the Kali Yuga comes from. Hinduism is often regarded, alarms, gotta stay top. I'm a responsible adult. So Hinduism is often regarded as one of the oldest organized religions in the world, with roots stretching back over 4,000 years to the Indus Valley civilization in India. Its sacred texts, such as the Vedas, speaking of UFOs, are among the earliest known religious writings, predating many other spiritual traditions. Hinduism is not just a religion, it's actually a synthesis of various cultural and spiritual traditions that evolved over millennia. The Vedic tradition, which forms its foundation, is believed to have emerged from a fusion of Indo-Aryan and Harappan cultures. Over time, it absorbed influences from local tribal religions, Dravidian traditions, and renouncer movements like Jainism and Buddhism. This incredible adaptability allowed Hinduism to survive and thrive through centuries of change. By the early centuries CE, it had developed into what we now recognize as classical Hinduism, a tradition that has profoundly influenced not only Indian society, but also other major world religions. Interestingly, there are scholars who suggest that Hinduism may have influenced Judaism during key periods of cultural exchange. Both religions share some remarkable similarities. For instance, both Hindu Brahmins and Jewish priests viewed themselves as chosen people with a divine duty to uphold sacred laws. Both traditions developed intricate systems of purity codes and dietary restrictions to define their communities. Some scholars argue that during the Babylonian exile of the Jewish people in the 6th century BCE, when Jewish leaders encountered Zoroastrianism ideas in Persia, there may also have been indirect influences from India. Zoroastrianism itself shares certain theological concepts with Hinduism, such as dualistic cosmology, you got the all-powerful God and the all-powerful evil Satan, and eschatological beliefs about a final renewal or a golden age. So this is where the ideas of heaven and hell, ultimate monotheistic God and devil come in, and also the end of the world, the cleansing of the world by fire. This is all coming into Judaism from Zoroastrianism and then making its way into Christianity. And you could really, you can make an argument that Christianity represents that movement of Zoroastrianism that came through Judaism after the Babylonian exile and then kind of emerged as a new religion, Christianity. Look, take out a map. Look at a map, okay? Look at Israel and look at its relationship to Iran and its relationship to India. It's really not that far apart. And also consider the fact that Israel, Palestine, that area has always been a major hub of different trade routes. Okay. You have people coming from Europe through Italy and Greece and Macedonia down through Israel into Egypt, right? You have people coming from Egypt and out and across the Middle East through Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran, and into India and China. You've had traders coming through there constantly for thousands of years. So these were not isolated groups and civilizations. They shared traditions, they shared beliefs. It was very common. We like to think that each religion, world religion, developed in a bubble, but it's not true. They're all very syncretic. So I want to point that out, that because Hinduism is probably the oldest religion that we have on the earth, a record of, in terms of it has written texts and can trace its tradition back, and it's influenced basically all the other religions, major world religions. That's what I would argue. Okay. In addition to Judaism, Hinduism's influence can also be seen, albeit indirectly, in Christianity. As I was saying, consider this: many elements of Christian theology resemble earlier Hindu concepts. For example, the idea of a divine trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, parallels Hinduism's Trimurti, Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. While these trinities differ in function and theology, their structural similarity is striking. The concept of an avatar, which is God taking on human flesh, incarnating in human form, is central to both Krishna in Hinduism and Jesus in Christianity. An avatar, which is what we call our video game characters. Speaking of my earlier video about simulation theory, that's what we call our video game character in a video game. That's our avatar. Interesting. The concept of an avatar. Remember that. So here's a quote from Jacques Ellul. The Trinity and unity rejected by Moses became afterwards the foundation of Christian theology, which incontestably acquired it from India, according to Jacques Ellul. This suggests that some core ideas within Christianity may have ancient roots in Indian philosophy. What's fascinating is how these ancient connections reveal a shared human quest for understanding the divine. Whether through direct influence or parallel development, Hinduism's profound philosophical depth has left its mark on global religious thought. Just gonna check the stream, make sure we're rolling here. Even today, see if I stand up here, fix this camera. There we go. Even today, we see echoes of these ancient ideas about cycles of time, divine justice, and ultimate renewal. Not just in Hinduism, but across Judaism, Christianity, and even modern spiritual movements. So these ideas are ubiquitous throughout human society all throughout time. Growing up an evangelical Christian, I was always given this idea that the world was about to end any minute. There's a teleology, that there's an end, that there's an eschaton to all of this that we're experiencing. And this idea obviously is very entrenched inside the American mind and how we think about things. You know, we're always looking for the end of the world. We're looking for our destruction. As picture the scene in Ghostbusters where Gozer asks the Ghostbusters to picture the form of their destruction, and he accidentally picks the Marshmallow Man. What you remember from Ghostbusters 1. The Americans are constantly doing that. We're constantly having that question posed to us, and we're constantly thinking about the form of our destruction. We're paranoid, like the Romans were paranoid of Carthage. Right? So, but this idea, I think, is you can trace it back to this idea of the Kali Yuga in Hinduism. But the thing about the Kali Yuga is, it is not the end of it. Is not the end of all things. It's the beginning of the Golden Age. And in fact, this age that we're in now, the Kali Yuga or the Iron Age, is the lowest that humans go. Right. So let me get back to talk about that. When we talk about concepts like Kali Yuga or Satya Yuga, the age of darkness, versus the Golden Age, Satya Yuga being the Golden Age, we're not just discussing Hindu philosophy, we're tapping into something universal, humanity's deep-seated belief in cycles of decline and renewal. Could this be why so many cultures share myths about a lost Golden Age? And could this shared memory point to something real, something we've forgotten during this long journey into the darkness? So what is the Kali Yuga? Okay. In Hindu philosophy, time is not linear, it's cyclical. The universe moves through 4 great ages or yugas. There's the Satya Yuga, the Golden Age, the Treta Yuga, Silver Age, the Dvapara Yuga, Bronze Age, and finally the Kali Yuga, or the Iron Age, or the Age of Darkness, which is what we're in now. Kali Yuga is said to be marked by moral decay, materialism, and spiritual ignorance. According to Hindu tradition, it began over 5,000 years ago. So we're talking about 3000 BCE. Or in 3102 BCE to be exact, and it will last for 432,000 years. But here's where it gets interesting. Many scholars and analysts of Hindu theology think that the yugas are actually shorter than that, and we're coming to the end of this age. right now. The Matsya Purana describes Kali Yuga as a time when falsehood, greed, and hatred dominate. It says that even those entrusted with sacred knowledge, the priests or the Brahmins, right, will lose their way. Society will be plagued by corruption, disease, and war. Swami Vivekananda once remarked on this degradation: people have become so degraded in this Kali Yuga that they think they can do anything, and then they can go to a holy place and their sins will be forgiven. Sound familiar? But there's another side to this story. Hindu mystics teach that the Kali Yuga isn't just about destruction, it's also a time when spiritual awakening is possible for those who seek it. In fact, they say enlightenment can come more easily during this age because the challenges are so great. So what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I suppose. Earth is a school. You've probably heard these ideas. What's fascinating is that this idea of cyclical ages isn't unique to Hinduism. Cultures across the world share a memory of a golden age, a time when humanity lived in harmony with nature and each other. In Greek mythology, you have the poet Hesiod, who wrote about a golden age when people lived like gods, free from toil and suffering. From the earth provided the food abundantly, and death was as gentle as sleep. Zoroastrianism, there was an initial perfect state before the cosmic struggle between good and evil began, a state that echoes Hinduism's Satya Yuga. And of course, in Judeo-Christian traditions, we see this idea of the Garden of Eden, a paradise lost due to human fallibility. Could these shared stories point to a collective memory? A deep-seated intuition about humanity's potential for harmony? Or are they archetypes that reflect our universal longing for peace? Now let's turn to today. If we are indeed living in this Kali Yuga, there could be signs that this dark age is coming to an end. Could there be these signs? Let's explore some reasons for cautious optimism. First, consider this. Over the past few decades, global poverty has declined dramatically. According to the World Bank, extreme poverty rates have fallen from 35% in 1990 to less than 10% today. Crime rates have also been declining in many parts of the world. In the United States alone, violent crime has dropped significantly since its peak in the 90s. Globally, wars between major powers have become less frequent compared to previous centuries. And then you have technology advancing at an unprecedented rate. Many fear that AI is a threat, and rightly so if misused, but it also holds incredible potential for abundance. Imagine a world where AI helps us solve some of humanity's greatest challenges, eradicating diseases through personalized medicine, ending hunger with precision agriculture, or creating clean energy solutions to combat climate change. These advancements could bring us closer to a future where scarcity is no longer a defining feature of human life. Think about how far we've come compared to previous centuries with these ideas in mind. In medieval Europe or other ancient periods, famine was common. Wars were constant, and life expectancy was shockingly low. Today's challenges are real, but compared to those times of mass starvation, think of the early 20th century, right? Think World War II and World War I, hundreds of millions of people dead in war and combat and starvation concentration camps, hundreds of millions, right? Compared to today, I mean, the challenges we face are easy. We're on easy mode compared to those times, right? Here's a quote from the Srimad Bhagavatam, foretells that as the Kali Yuga advances further, society will face even greater moral decay, but it also reminds us that through spiritual practice, like chanting or giving dana, which is like alms, I believe, humanity can overcome these challenges. So yeah, I mean, I think we maybe saw the final fireworks of the end of this age already in the early 20th century. I hope that's true. Maybe the detonation of a nuclear weapon was the final, the big send-off, the grand finale for this Kali Yuga. So we're starting to rev back up into the next age, which we'll get into. Could these be signs that humanity is beginning to climb out of Kali Yuga's darkness? Could they signal the dawn of something brighter? If we're still in the Kali Yuga, and many would argue that we are, it raises an important question. How much can we trust our understanding of history or even science or spirituality or anything? I mean, the whole idea is that the human experience and the human condition during the Kali Yuga is darkened and dampened in so many ways. Take history, for example. Much of what we know about ancient civilizations is based on fragmented evidence interpreted through modern biases. Could it be that entire chapters of human history have been lost or misunderstood because our intellects have been darkened by this age? Perhaps we rely too much on materialism. Perhaps that's what it means to have your intellect darkened. Right? You've probably heard of Graham Hancock. There's another author in a similar vein named Michael Cremo, who is an American, but admittedly he is a Hindu, so he's biased toward Hinduism. He has an entire set of tomes called Forbidden Archaeology, talking about findings and artifacts, things that shouldn't be in the sediment layers, right? The idea being If you look at the sediment layers, they represent the different ages of the earth. The further down you go, the further in the past you're going. And they found man-made objects, right? Shoes, cannonballs, bells, different things like that embedded in these rocks deep down that show that these things were embedded there millions of years ago based on the depth and the layer that they're just as a few examples. And, think about it. Modern science even tells you that human beings, Homo sapiens, have existed as we do today with the same brain capacity, same potential for intellect and creation that we have now for almost 300,000 years, right? But our recorded history goes back only, now it's up to 14,000 years, I guess, with like the Göbekli Tepe find. So you're missing 280,000 years of human history. And perhaps we were all just nomads and hunter-gatherers for that entire time. But perhaps civilizations rose and fell, like so many of our ancient stories tell us. Perhaps we built up these civilizations and then they fell apart and were lost to the sands of history. And we have a very fragmented and deficient memory of what happened to us. With science, while it has brought incredible advancement, it often struggles with questions about consciousness, the nature of existence, questions that ancient traditions like Hinduism have explored for millennia. I quote, "The tapas and other hard yogas practiced in other yugas do not work now. What is needed in this age is giving, helping others." So in the Kali Yuga, you don't have the same potential to advance yourself spiritually through these different yogas that they have. So he's saying to serve others. That's the key. That's the best yoga for the Kali Yuga. If our intellects are clouded by Kali Yuga's influence, perhaps there's much more to discover, not just about our past, but about our potential as human beings. So what can we do? Whether Kali Yuga is ending or continuing, there are lessons here for all of us. First, cultivate awareness. Practices like meditation, prayer, connecting with your personal understanding of a higher power, of God, Brahman, the uncreated creator, the source, all these things. They can help us connect with our spiritual essence, even in challenging times. Second is to embrace optimism without naivete. While progress has been made, there's still work to do, but small actions can create ripples of change. Okay. Finally, remember that transformation begins within each of us. By embodying values like compassion and truthfulness now, we can help usher in whatever world comes next, whether it's Satya Yuga or simply a better version of this world, okay? So, I'm not saying I believe that this is true. I'm not a Hindu. I just think it's a fascinating set of ideas to consider. I think perhaps we're getting a blurred version of an alternative history passed down to us through the Hindu religion. Maybe there are times when humanity is able to harmonize together as one. Perhaps, we unlock spiritual abilities that didn't exist or that don't seem to exist now because we've had our minds and our intellects dampened by this age that we're in. I mean, there's a lot we don't understand about the universe. So I think that there is a lot here to dig into and to think about. And it seems like there's a potential for us to come out of this dark age that we've been in for so long. The advent of AI and the internet and the interconnectedness of us all, and the truth about the corruptness of our officials, our governments, and our churches all coming out now because of the internet. There's a chance for humanity to come together and to use our technology to build a better world. And I believe our destiny is to do that, to make sure every man, woman, and child on the planet has their basic needs met, and that we all live a life of relative luxury compared to how our ancestors lived. And then we go and we travel the stars. No longer are we going to be slaves to mines and factories. We're going to be servants of the exploration and the expansion of human consciousness throughout the galaxy. That's what I hope for. And that's what I believe we can build if we have it within us to do so. Any questions? I'll just wait and see if there's any chats coming in. I got 2 viewers right now, one on Rumble, one on Twitch. Any thoughts, comments? I think this will be my shortest video yet. I tried out a different style this time. I wrote up a pre-written script and then kind of read it. Maybe I blasted through it too fast. Before I was trying to do extemporaneous style. So let me know if you thought one was better than the other. But does anybody have any questions about any of this topic here? Anybody on YouTube? See if I can answer anyone. Even if you want to be mean and insult me, that's okay. I'll respond. Let's see. YouTube, Twitch. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless.
A world of greed and chaos, where wrong is praised as right. But deep within the darkness, a spark begins to glow. A whisper of the ages, a truth we've yet to know. The cycles turn, the wheel will spin. What's lost will rise, what's pure begins. Through storms and fire, the dawn will break. A golden age for hearts awake. Oh, Kali Yuga, your time will fade. The seeds of light have been softly laid. Through trials and pain, we'll find our way to Satya Yuga's golden day. The sages saw the future in the stars above the land. They spoke of times of struggle when truth would barely stand. But even in this darkness, a path of hope remains for those who seek the higher light beyond this world of chains. The cycles turn, the wheel will spin. What's lost will rise, what's pure begins. Through storms and fire, the dawn will break. A golden age for hearts awake. Oh, Kali Yuga, your time will fade. The seeds of light have been softly laid. Through trials and pain, we'll find our way to Satya Yuga's golden day. The rivers flow with wisdom, so the earth begins to heal. Our hearts align with Dharma's call, the truth becomes revealed. No longer bound by fear or hate, we lift our eyes above. A world reborn in harmony, a future built on love. Oh, Kali Yuga, your reign must end. The broken hearts of men will mend.